You know it. Appreciate that. So I want to thank you as well as Jack and your entire ISA team on the opportunity, the invitation to come and be able to speak to the students that are on the team with you folks. Understand that this is an engineering technology led team. That's great. I'm an engineering technology major. Graduated back when Cal Poly was just a big old dirt field, and there was only maybe one or two buildings on the campus. But certainly has grown since then. And, over time, I've watched many of you of students from Cal Poly grow, through your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years, and then matriculate into a career. Some of them in aerospace, others in automotive, others in just all kinds of different businesses. And I got to say, I'm happy to have been a part of that learning process that each of those students went through to matriculate from college into a career, and some even beyond. Just today, as a matter of fact, just this morning, I got an email from a engineering student who said that he just got a job, I guess, working for a company, Fire or something. I can't remember the name of the company, but he just got a job working for a company, got hired on. And I sent him a note congratulating him, and he sent me a note back saying, "Hey, Mr. Rucker, if it weren't for, the insights and information that you gave me specific to my resume building, as well as what kind of things to say during the interview process and all that," he said, "I don't think that I'd have been there." And he said that certainly the company that he got hired by, they were very impressed by the content of his resume, and of course how polished and professional he was during the interview process, as a result of some of the conversation and dialogue that he and I had. So my message by telling you all of this is that I'm here for you. I'm here as a resource for you. Anytime that you have questions, issues, concerns, things that you'd like to know, have me answer, help that you might need with your resume or whatever, please feel free to reach out to me. The information, the best way to reach out, let's see, first, I would say that I have a LinkedIn profile. So you can go on LinkedIn and you can connect with me via LinkedIn if you want. And then what I'll probably do is send you my email address, and then we can go on from there. So that's probably the best way to contact me if you want to contact me outside of this forum. Can we go to the next slide? So what I want to do is I'm going to do something a little bit different today than I have done in any previous talks that I've given to any group. I want to talk and try to address questions that you might have first. And then if we have time, I'll tell you a little bit about my career journey. But the reason why I want to do this is because I think it's really important to try and address some of your concerns, your questions, your issues, and things that you might really have a desire to understand a little bit better about your career journey and what kind of things to expect, not only in college, but also how to deal with things that pressures and situations that you might deal with in your job as you graduate. So I want to address those first, and then I'll come back to, if we have time, I'll come back to how I got to where I am at the Boeing company, being the director of Phantom Works Quality, and my whole journey to get there. So first things first, let's talk. I mean, hey, it's the elephant in the room, COVID-19. We're spiking up. If you go to the next slide, please, Stowit. We're spiking up, and COVID-19 has had a major, significant impact on all businesses. Doesn't matter where you work, it's had an impact on it. Some good, construction work has really gone up, but some not so good. For example, in the aerospace business, we've had probably COVID has impacted us more than any other situation, event in the past 10 years. For the past 2 quarters now, we have seen negative profits in our earnings across the Boeing company. And this is not a good thing. When we see negatives like this, 3.3 billion that we saw in our second quarter report, and then third quarter report wasn't much better. I got to tell you, it really impacts us, our ability to hire, our ability to grow and innovate, our ability to be creative and find solutions to customers' requests. It's all impacted by this kind of stuff. So COVID has had a major, significant impact on us, and I'm sure many other companies out there. Maybe not as much, for Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop, because they're not as involved in commercial aircraft as the Boeing company is, but it's still an impact. Next slide. And so I have a slide here that you can, use how you will on how to acknowledge and accept the impact that COVID has had on us. Back when COVID first hit in March, April timeframe, there were a lot of people that were operating in the fear zone, buying up all the toilet paper and all the cleaning supplies, et cetera, right? Everybody was out there doing all that kind of stuff, Where am I going to eat? Where am I going to get my next meal? Buying up all the chicken, all the beef, et cetera, et cetera. But then over time, people moved out of the fear zone. They moved into the learning zone, and they started to realize, well, you know what? I really can't control a lot of the stuff that's going on around me. All I can really control is my world, my hemisphere. And they started learning how to work in that zone, control their emotions a little bit better, start wearing masks, that sort of stuff. And then eventually they moved into the growth zone, which obviously, allows people to do things and start caring for others a little bit more. And I got to say that the transition for me personally, when COVID hit, I don't think I ever operated in the fear zone. I may have definitely spent some time in the learning zone, but I often try to focus on things in that growth zone about how to appreciate others and their perspectives, how to help others when they are in need, and how to go out and just kind of go out of my way to do things for others and other people to help them cope through the COVID situation that we're all dealing with. So I would encourage you, take a look at this chart and figure out where you are currently operating as COVID is spiking up, and see where you want to operate, which zone you want to operate in. Okay, so now, things that Boeing's done to help us cope with COVID, we have these bi-weekly COVID status briefings where they talk about the infections and the deaths and all that sort of stuff. We have these working environment seminars. We've had virtual manager office hours. I conducted one last month, had about 60 employees from Phantom Works dial into that call and talk to them about what we do in our business area. They share information about PPE distribution, et cetera. They actually sent us PPE masks and thermometers, et cetera, et cetera. So the company is really trying to make an effort to help us through this COVID pandemic as best they possibly can. And I guess I would suggest to you that, anything that you can do to help yourself or help your family members or help others, please try to do that, because it's definitely something that the more we help each other, the faster and easier and better we'll all make it through it. Next slide. So here's now where I'm going to move into the questions, the Q&A. Where did I get these questions from? I participate in a group of Cal Poly alumni that does several different types of events. And one of the groups that I participate in received a number of questions from actual Cal Poly students. And those questions that came in, I started looking at them. I was like, well, I know the answer to that. Oh, I could answer that. And I started thinking about how I might be able to address some of those questions to help some of the students that were asking those questions deal with and cope with their situations a little bit better and understand how they can move into their career paths a little bit better and easier. So question one, I'm just gonna go through each one, right? How has COVID impacted hiring interns and permanent staff in companies? Obviously, as I state, it eliminated hundreds of thousands of jobs across the country in travel industry, commercial aviation, anywhere you want to say, as I mentioned, anywhere you could imagine it has hit, it has. It eliminated hotel positions, restaurant positions, and every sports venue that was impacted. Virtually all things that would bring people together were impacted. So that's how COVID impacted us, right? And with that said, unless virtual is an option for the job, COVID has created a lasting impact on our future. You got to think about working virtual. You got to think about the virtual climate that we're in, and in those businesses where you can and have the opportunity to work virtual, what kind of things can you do to create and be innovative, that a company would say, oh yeah, hey, you know what, we need this particular person, this candidate for this job, because they have bright ideas, they have new thoughts and new creative ways to go about making our products and do things, and we can do them virtually if we need to. So I would say, in addressing COVID, my answer would be, think about being creative and innovative in a virtual environment. Figure out how you can do that, because many jobs are going to be required to go virtual. Question 2, what resources did I use to get my first job out of college? And then, was my first job out of college an entry level position or a management position? So I'm going to say, first things first, things are way different now than when I was in college, and I got my first aerospace job. Back then, I was sitting in my dorm room doing some homework, listening to the radio, and I heard an ad that came on the radio about a local aerospace company, General Dynamics. They were broadcasting a need for engineers, and General Dynamics right over here in Pomona. So I hopped on my moped, I rode over there, I applied, I interviewed, and I was hired a week later. That's how I got my first aerospace job. And you guys say, wow, that's pretty lucky. And I say, yeah, that was pretty lucky. At the time, I just happened to be listening to the radio and caught the ad and went over there. Most students right now use LinkedIn and other online services. And I'll tell you right now, most recruiters use LinkedIn as their job searching venue. They find a lot of their candidates on LinkedIn and some of the other devices out there. So I would say LinkedIn is a very good tool for you. It's something that LinkedIn and other devices are a very good tool. There are things that and ways that you can communicate your skills, your knowledge, and your resource availability to those recruiters to let them know, whether or not you are the right candidate for the position that they're hiring. And then regarding that last question about entry level versus management, hey, I was an entry level engineer at General Dynamics for 5 years. I was an entry level engineer at Northrop Grumman working on the B-2 program for 5 years. I won't say entry level, I moved up, but I was still, I wasn't management, I'll put it that way. But then 1 year at Boeing, actually it was McDonnell Douglas, things changed for me, and they moved me into management, and I think it was largely because of the fact that over that 10-year period of time, I had a lot of ideas that were just kind of percolating, and I never had the opportunity to share those ideas until I got to McDonnell Douglas on the space station program. And when I got to space station and started looking at things a little bit differently than the way the traditional engineers did, I had an opportunity to share my ideas. And of course, as you share your ideas, people see and they start to hear that, hey, this is a person that we might want to move up. And so that's how it happened for me. How do you make the right connections to get a job? Well, let's see. Networking obviously is key. Every professional that you meet should become a part of your network. I say this all the time when I'm talking to students. Every time you meet a professional, whether they're in your career field or not in your career field, every time you meet a professional, get their business card and find out what they do, who they know, where they work, what kind of friends they have. Let them know more about you so that they'll they'll remember you, and maybe one day be able to help you identify others in your network or in their network that will be able to help you get to where you want to go. Every professional you meet should be a part of your network. The more networking that you do, the better that you'll do in identifying resources to help you in your career. And mind you, it's not just to get a job. Those people that are in your network they also have, just like me, they have stories, they have insights, they have wisdom to share on how they got to where they are, that they can share that with you. And that learning process you can then utilize to get to where you want to be. People like myself love to share insights. So if you network, learn how to network in a way where you're learning, and then you'll become a better professional. And of course, they will definitely remember you during the course of that conversation. So that's how you do that. How do you keep your skills relevant and updated while building your career? On-the-job training is definitely something that I highly recommend. It's just as important to me and many of the folks that work for me as accredited education. Even though they're both important, I think that on-the-job training, continued learning is always a good thing to do. At most companies, it's a training session that's offered off or on campus. Try to attend them if you can. Seek out higher degrees if you are able to do that. A master's or PhD. And if the company that you work for is willing to pay for it, hey, that's even better. You hit the jackpot. My phone is over here ringing, and it's going to start talking in a minute. So I'm just going to ignore it for now. How did you apply? How did I apply for a job? Or how do you apply for a job when you don't really have all the required qualifications for the job? And then the person asks, is it worth applying? My answer to that question, and I've told this to many students before when they send me their resumes and they ask me, should I apply for XYZ position? You got to make sure that you meet the minimum qualifications for the job. So if the job requisition says you need to have a secret security clearance, or you need to have 3 years experience, or you need to XYZ, whatever the case is, you got to meet that set of minimum qualifications. If you don't, you're going to be wasting your time, and you're going to be wasting the hiring manager's time and the recruiter's time, because they're not going to be willing to talk to you if you don't meet the minimum requirements. And I'll tell you this also, in addition to what's on that page, if you don't meet the minimum qualifications and you apply anyway, they're going to remember. And the next time that you apply, chances are good that you'll be kicked out of the system. So think about that before you apply for a job and you don't meet the minimum qualifications. State those qualifications that you do have clearly, and that you're gathering experience in the ones that you don't. If you're lucky enough to get an interview, like an in-person interview or something like that, make it very clear. Hey, I've taken this class, this class, this class. I have this experience. I've worked on this team and this team, but I haven't done X, Y, Z. Be clear. Don't mislead. Be creative, but don't mislead. How do you handle a difficult boss? Now, a lot of people ask me this question. I'm like, wow, I'm surprised that many people don't really know or understand, I guess, how to do this. And then I started thinking about it when I was early in my career. Yeah, I guess I did kind of battle a little bit. I had a couple bosses that I really felt I just couldn't see eye to eye with just about on anything. I mean, every day was a struggle with these personnel. It was just tough. Every discussion was a challenge. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? What's this about? What is that about? Blah, 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 blah. And over time, I started to remember things that I was taught when I was young, especially the message that's on the page. There's really only one person in this world that you can actually effectively change, and that person is you. You can try all you want to change other people, change the way they think, change the way they talk, change the way they dress, change the way they walk, change the this, change the that. But eventually, if they don't want to change, they're not going to change, and they're going to be who they're going to be. And if unfortunately you're with a boss who is just somebody who's just not a good person, well, you're not going to be able to change them. So what do? You change yourself. You figure out how, in your mind, you're going to be a better person, be a person that doesn't cause conflict. So what did I start doing? I started thinking about how could I change so that I felt better about what I was doing in my interactions with my boss. I began smiling. I'd shake hands when I walked in the room every time we met face to face. And yeah, at first it was a little bit awkward because he's looking at me like, what are you doing this for? And I was like, hey, I just generally want to find out how you're doing today. How are you doing today? Are things going good for you? Is business going well, et cetera, et cetera. And I always remembered to try and never be overheard saying something negative about our team or our group or my boss, et cetera, et cetera. I always wanted to make sure that people heard me saying positive things, and if I didn't have something nice to say, I didn't say anything at all. And the next thing you know, your boss one day is going to retire, or they're going to find another job. And that job that they have is going to be open. And guess who they're going to come to fill that job? It's going to be the person that boss said, you know what? This person really changed, and I really like that person now. And I think that they'd be good for this job. They'd be good for our team because they have a positive attitude. They're out there sharing themselves with people, and they have a lot of smart, intelligent, wonderful, innovative ideas that they want to share. And that is how you matriculate. Next slide. After being in the workforce for 6 to 7 years, this student said that they find themselves burnt out with their work. What kind of things do I recommend for them to do in order to find the spark in their work? And is it too soon to consider a different career? I don't know how many of you out there have ever faced this question, but I'll tell you that my number one response to that is that you're probably not in a career that aligns to what you're passionate about. When I was a kid, 4, 5, 6 years old, I used to draw helicopters. I used to draw airplanes. I used to draw submarines. I was always fascinated about technology. I always wanted to find out how things work, figure them out. I used to take lamps apart. I used to take TVs apart. My mom would get really mad at me for doing that kind of stuff. But bottom line is, I was always fascinated about technology because I was passionate about technology. And as I matriculated through college and into a career, I got into the College of Engineering at Cal Poly Pomona, and into a career working at General Dynamics in their fault isolation test lab, working on the Phalanx weapon system. It was like, hey man, I'm in heaven now, right? And I thought I was back then, but now I really am, because now in my current job, I get a chance to work on everything from satellites to submarines and everything in between. I never know what program or project I'm going to be working on during the course of the day. And it's right along the lines of my passion, which is technology. So I'd say, ask yourself, what drew you to that job in the beginning? And then ask, is that attraction still there? And if it's not, why isn't there? And then maybe if you can find it, re-engage in it. But if you're still feeling that, I'm just not feeling this job anymore, don't just jump into something that'll burn you out. Make sure that whatever you get into, whatever field you get into in college, whatever field you get into or career you get into in your job, that you are passionate about it. And I guarantee you'll never work a day in your life. Simple statement. How do you motivate others to go the extra mile? Well, as humans, I believe that everyone is innately drawn to the fact that they want to win, they want to achieve, they want to do the best they can, and that no one really wants to do a bad job. So what I do, and when I have conversations with my team or conversations with peers in other organizations that I want to try to have a mutual understanding and an agreement on something, I always try to find that win-win solution. What is the win-win solution? How are they going to win? And how am I going to win? How are we going to win as a team? When you find that win-win solution and you propose it as the idea, the go-forward plan, everybody buys in, everybody moves forward, and everyone is willing to take a stake in what needs to be done to make it happen. That is how you motivate people to go the extra mile. Simple answer. What are things that I wish I knew before starting my career? I gave you a whole long list of things here. All of them being great ideas, great things that you should think about, great things that you ought to take with you as you go through college. Make sure that you understand, hey, a career is just that. It's not an overnight assignment. It's years of doing something that hopefully you love and you want to do. I've been in aerospace for 42 years now. 42 years. That's 2 of your lifetimes, okay, that I've been in aerospace. So think about that. That's a career. Develop and maintain good communication skills. This is essential in the professional environment. You have to be a good communicator and an effective communicator to survive, to survive on teams, to survive in business in general. Reach out with honesty and a willingness to learn. I already addressed that. Bring your brand. One of our professionals, another Cal Poly alumni, said, hey, you better have an elevator speech, and you ought to be able to recite your elevator speech by heart at a moment's notice. Now, some of you might say, what's an elevator speech? Pretend that you have walked into the top floor of you walked into an elevator at the top floor of a 10-story high-rise. And in that elevator with you is the CEO of your company. And you're in the elevator, and the CEO is in that elevator, and that CEO turns to you and says, hey, how are you, Bob? I see you working here. You've been working here for maybe a couple of years now, and we've never met. What is it you do, and what ideas do you have? In the time that it takes you to get from that 10th floor down to that first floor, you should be able to tell that person, that CEO, who you are, what you've been working on, what you've been doing, what ideas you have, how you think that you can make his company better or her company better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that is an elevator speech. So know it by heart, and if you don't have one, create one, because you're going to need it. I'm telling you. Think outside the box, be innovative. I've already talked about that. Have good soft people skills, be able to talk and communicate and be respectful and charismatic. Very important. Work well in a team environment, be a systems thinker, know how to connect the dots between how things work. One of the other alumni that was on the call with us said, hey, you know what I wish that I had told my younger self when I was coming up? Slow down. Work hard early. Don't be in such a hurry to move to leadership, to management, etc. Establish some good, solid background and practices and things, how you do things, and then get yourself there. And as I told you, it took me 11 years of my career before I started actually matriculating to leadership management positions. And during that first 10 years, what was I doing? Establishing that foundation, understanding how things work, making sure that I knew how to work with people, work with projects, and make things better. And as I got to that 11th year, I was able to start sharing knowledge, sharing insights, showing my innovation and creativity. And the next thing you know, people started knocking on my door. Hey, Clark, we want you to do this. Hey, Clark, we want you to go here. Hey, Clark, we want to send you back to school to get your master's degree. So understand those kind of things. Learn, and keep learning. And then act with ethics and integrity, and be willing to take acceptable risks, but also hold yourself accountable. So these are all great tips. Learn them, practice them. Next slide. The last question that I was given, what keeps me motivated? That's so easy. I think I already told you. I'm very passionate about what I do and the field that I work in. I like to think that I was born to be in it. Giving back to others by participating in these kind of events and discussions help me feel like I'm not taking all these years of insights with me to the grave, but that maybe somebody out there might benefit from it. And as I told you, I just got an email from one of the students that I've helped out over the years saying that he just got a job in aerospace, and I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute of it. Every time I get one of those kind of emails, it just makes me feel good inside. So what motivated me to get to where I am today? Knowing myself, being open to opportunities, figuring out early what I was passionate about, and seeking avenues to get myself there. You see in parentheses there, it says Brian's story. How much time do I have? Okay, so I got a little time. Brian's story. So I'm going to tell you about this guy, Cal Poly engineer, walks up to me in the quad at Cal Poly Pomona during a career fair. First name was Brian. He says to me, "Hi, Mr. Rucker. I'm an electronics engineer. Here's my resume. I'm very interested in working for the Boeing company. I have, been in the engineering field for quite some time, and I'm very much interested in being in aerospace. If you have the opportunity, to talk to me and maybe consider my qualifications, I'd appreciate it." And he turns around, and he starts to walk away, and I said, "Whoa, hold on, man, hold on, come back." He's like, "Oh, okay." So I said, "Well, hey, first off, I want you to, I want to have a little bit more dialogue with you. I don't want you just start to, give me this preamble, then turn around and walk away. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? What are your habits? What kind of things do you really feel passionate about?" He was like, I do electronics tinkering here and there, blah, 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 and he said, I'm a musician. And I said, "Oh, really? You're a musician? What do you play?" He said, "Guitar. I play guitar." So, okay, great. Well, I'm a drummer. I play drums. So we started talking about music. And as we started talking, his eyes started lighting up, and he started telling me more and more about things that he liked to do with music. And he told me about a concert that he was asked to be the electronics technician, the guy who ran the boards at the concert. And he was just happy because they gave him that opportunity, and this, that, and the other. And as he was talking, I could see that his whole body language is changing. He's coming out of his shell, and he's telling me all this great stuff. And I was like, "Brian, you don't want to work in aerospace. What you need to do is find a job that will link your electronics engineering knowledge and skills to the music and the passion that you have for music within you, so that you can be able to be happy doing that every day." So he took my advice. He backed off, and he started thinking about it. I also told him about my dad's career, and how my dad was always an artist, but he went into being a police officer early in his career, but he was always an artist. And I told him about that. He thought about that. And it was about a year or two later, I got an email from this guy, Brian, saying, "Hey, mister, I want to thank you for that conversation." He said, I completely agreed with what you told me. And I went and applied for a position at Fender Music. And I now work in their manufacturing and distribution center of Fender guitar as an electronics engineer. And I said, man, that's the win-win. That is the win-win. The light bulb came on. He connected those dots, and he made it happen. He said he's happy doing what he's doing, and that's what makes me happy inside when I know that I've done something like that for one of you guys. So if we have the opportunity to have that kind of discussion and relationship, I'd be glad to. Also, making sure that you have a good network and mentoring. It's very important. Know that it's never too late to be coached or mentored. Next slide. So how did I get from here, which was 22-year-old young man, circa 1981, throwing Frisbee in the quad at Cal Poly Pomona. Yes, that is Cal Poly Pomona. I guess there was grass and sidewalks back in those days. Anyway, 22 years old in tossing Frisbees in the quad to the next slide. Distinguished alumni, class of 2017, College of Engineering Hall of Fame, class of 2019. If you guys were on campus, could you go back to that last slide? If you guys were on campus right now, you could go in the building, I think it's 17, next to the engineering building. And one of the walls in that building, I think it's across from the aerospace theater or classroom. You'll see my picture on the wall there. I proudly display that picture because I'm really happy to show that, hey, I love working and supporting the students that are at Cal Poly Pomona. Next slide. So how did I get there? It was a series of opportunities that came knocking at my door. In high school, my physics teacher told me that I should pursue an engineering degree because I was good in math, good in science. The next question was, what school should I go to, stay close to home, or go far away? I applied to, and listen, I was accepted at 4 schools when I came out of high school. My GPA, I think, was 3.98 or something like that out of high school. I applied to Cal Poly Pomona, Cal Poly SLO, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and Caltech in Pasadena. I got accepted at all 4 schools. So why did I end up at Cal Poly Pomona? Simple. I'm a boy from San Diego, California, and I wanted to go to the school that was closest to home. So that's where I went and ended up at Cal Poly Pomona, and I never regretted it. My first opportunity in the professional environment was to work at General Dynamics, which was right here in Pomona. I worked there for 5 years. I left there. I went to Northrop Grumman, worked on the B-2 program for 5 years. I left there and I went to McDonnell Douglas, which is now Boeing, and I've been there for 30 years. Opportunities came knocking at my door to be a mid-level manager. Lady comes to me and says, hey, Clark, we got John McDonald, the CEO, president of McDonnell Douglas, coming to our site. He wants to meet with some of our leaders, people that have new ideas and innovative ideas, and we want to invite you to that meeting. I go to this meeting with John McDonald, CEO of the company. He's got about 10 people in the room. I'm one of them, and they're all young like me. And he says, "Hey, I'm looking for new innovative ideas on how we could become more efficient and effective as a company." My hand immediately went up in the air. Why did it immediately go up in the air? Because I had just that past weekend read about integrated product teams, IPTs, and I had an idea that we could implement at the McDonnell Douglas company on how to implement IPTs in our business. So as I'm talking and sharing my idea with him, he's taking notes. And the next thing I know, after that meeting is over, I got another knock at my door. Hey, Clark, we want to send you back and get your master's degree at the Claremont College's Executive School of Management. I was like, really? Okay, well, if you say so. And I got my master's. Immediately after I came out of that program, knock at my door. Hey, Clark, we want to put you in the executive development rotation program. We're going to send you to Philadelphia, Mesa, Arizona, Puget Sound, all these various, St. Louis, all these various different sites to work on various different programs, sharing ideas with them on how they can become more effective and efficient. And I did that. I did that assignment for about a year and a half. I came back at the end of that assignment into Southern California as a senior manager and eventually moved into the Phantom Works area as director of quality. So people ask, how did I get to where I am? It was a series of opportunities that came knocking at my door, and I took advantage of them. I jumped on them, and I did it. And I'm going to say, over your career, you're going to have many, many, many opportunities come knocking at your door. Make sure that you take advantage of them and then you jump on them. Next slide. Where do I work? Obviously, I said Phantom Works already. Next slide. What kind of things do I work on? Everything from satellites to submarines and everything in between. I love what I do. Next slide. So this is the resume slide. Every time I get a resume from any student, the things that I look for are on this slide. So I'm just going to let you know right here, right now. GPA, yes, you should have it on your slide. And make sure that you keep your grades up. Every company out there wants the best and brightest. Have some applicable experiences in your background. And the key word on that in that sentence is applicable experience. You won't believe how many resumes I get for students that want to be engineers, and the only thing they have on their resume is, well, they were a lifeguard at some place, or they were, they worked at Bob's Big Boy, or whatever the case may be. That's all they have as far as experience on their resume. And I say, well, if that's all you have, then let's talk about how that is applicable to the engineering degree or job that you're looking for. But if you have an opportunity to put something applicable on your resume, try to do that. Internships are good. Projects that you work on at Cal Poly, teams that you might get engaged in at Cal Poly, all those things are ways that you can have some applicable experience in your background. So try to have that on your resume. There are basically 6 areas that I feel are things that need to be on a resume statement. A resume objective statement basically tells me that you know what job you're applying for and you know what skills that you're bringing to that job. Your education, obviously, California. Oh, by the way, don't say Cal Poly Pomona. Say California State Polytechnic University at Pomona, because that's the name of your school. So know that. Put your GPA on there. Why? Because you're going to be asked eventually anyway. If your GPA is below 3.0, it's okay, as long as you have a good story to go with that below 3.0 GPA. If your GPA is above 3.0, you definitely want to put it on your resume, because it shows that you've been studying and you've been studying hard. Experience, make sure it's applicable. I'm not even going to go into the McDonald's example, although I could have, but I'm kind of short of time, so I won't. Make sure you identify your skills, what skills you have, and don't just list, I know Microsoft Word or Power. No, give me some specific skills that you learned in your internships or in your club or on your team or whatever that apply directly to the job that you're applying for. Memberships and affiliations. If you are let's see, you guys are ISA, so that tells me that you're already a member of a professional affiliation, professional organization. That's great. Make sure it's on your resume. Some people say, why would I put that on my resume, Mr. Rucker? The answer is because you never know that hiring manager that you hand that resume to might also be a member of that organization, and you've got, bam, instant connection. That is why you put it on your resume. And then last but not least, honors and awards. I always say that you should try and identify something that you've done that's got recognized, because people like myself, hiring managers, always want to know, and we always want to identify those candidates that someone somewhere saw something in you enough to make them want to give you a recognition for doing something above and beyond. And the above and beyond students are the ones that we're looking for. Have confidence in yourself, exude enthusiasm about everything you do and what you can do. Make sure you look the speakers in the eye when you're talking to them. Listen to them when they're giving you feedback. Don't try to cut them off. Listen to what they have to say and then give them an answer and show them how you're a better candidate than the person that they last spoke to. It's an interview and a resume are so easy if you think about it from the perspective of no one knows more about you about a subject. I'm sorry, no one knows more about what you know about a subject than you, especially if the subject is you. Share what you know. Next slide. Enjoy life, work hard, don't accept mediocrity, always strive to be the best you that you can be. And if you're lucky enough to, like me, find a career that you're passionate about, you'll never work a day in your life. So find your passion, dive into it. And next slide, who knows? One day you could end up there. All those people with those green jackets on are honors, the honor roll, whatever, the College of Engineering Hall of Fame inductees from last year. And that's all I have. Questions? If someone, I know there's a lot of stuff in the chat box, so if someone could read the questions that are in the chat, or maybe I could read the questions in the chat box. Oh.
I think there are mostly comments so far.
Okay.
That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm glad we had the opportunity. So Jack, I'll just take questions online if anybody wants to chime in and ask one.
Yeah, I can get the ball rolling.
Okay.
You talked a little bit earlier on about LinkedIn. So I've been on a bit of a prowl recently, getting connected with folks. Am I doing myself a disservice, you think, by doing sort of the cold call equivalent of, getting linked in with people who are second and third connections just based on kind of title? Or is that perfectly all right if I follow up and kind of explain my interest in getting connected with them?
So one of the things that our LinkedIn expert, when I say our LinkedIn expert, there's a person that's on our team as an alumni from Cal Poly who does LinkedIn briefings all the time. One of the things he always says is when you connect with someone in LinkedIn, make sure that you identify who you are, obviously, the school that you go to, and let them know, some things about you personally and why it is that you're trying to connect with them. So it's not such a quote unquote cold call.
Right.
It might be a cold call from the perspective of the fact that you've never had the interaction with them before, but if you go into it with a soft approach, for example, hi Bob, I noticed that you and I are both friends of Sam, who is a friend, works at Boeing company, Clark, that works at Boeing company, and he's an engineering technology major just like myself. And I understand that you're a Cal Poly alumni also. And I was just hoping that maybe you and I could maybe connect and talk a little bit about potential job opportunities that you might have, or insights that you might want to share with me on how to make those job opportunities come to fruition in my future. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an engineering technology major. I'm in my senior year at Cal Poly Pomona. I worked on projects A, B, C, D. I'm really passionate about doing X, Y, Z, and these are the things that I like to do. Do you have any insights that you'd like to share? You go into it from that perspective, asking that professional for that feedback. I think that you'll probably be more successful in getting a response than just going into it and saying, "Hey, I'd like to connect to talk about jobs."
Right. Yeah. Be open and thorough. Okay.
Mr. Rucker, if I may ask a question.
Yes, Ishan, go ahead.
Oh, hi, my name's Ishan. I'm a first year ESET major, Electronic Systems Engineering Tech here at Cal Poly. And I was just wondering in regards to hiring and internships at Boeing and other aerospace companies, if they look at ESET majors and all those, electronic systems other than aerospace.
Most definitely. I have told many students that Boeing hires mechanical engineers. We hire engineering technologists, ETEs, ECEs, computer engineers. We hire industrial engineers. Might be a little bit on the challenging side to find civil engineers at our company, but we hire engineers of all sorts, and so does Raytheon, so does Northrop, so does Lockheed, so does SpaceX. They hire them all. So the answer is yes. Those types of disciplines are definitely sought after. A student asked me recently, though, if you had to pick one engineering background that is most sought after or will be most sought after in the near future, I'll tell you right now, here goes my phone again. Computer engineers, software, people that have software engineering and software programming skills definitely are going to be needed big time in the near future.
Thank you very much.
Next question. I apologize for my phone. I probably should have moved it out of the room before I came in here. But anyway, anyone have any more questions for me? And Jack, by the way, did we finish your question?
Yeah, I had another one to add on, but just to allow myself to formulate my thoughts, I think it was good we had a question from Sean. So if the individual I reach out to isn't able to answer my questions, is it inappropriate or offensive to say something along the lines of, if you can't speak to the questions I'm asking, do you have a colleague who might be able to, is asking for a referral kind of before you get acquainted? Is that offensive or off-putting?
I wouldn't. I would say no. It's not offensive to do that. I would just say how you say it is all
Right.
in the message, right? So if you are unable to answer my question, might be stated as if you do not have the opportunity to, or perhaps are a little too busy to, or
right.
Something of that nature. Do you have someone else that you might be able to refer me to? But I'll say this, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the people that at Cal Poly, one of the professors at Cal Poly said to me the other day, she said, Clark, it's clear you have a passion for wanting to help students like Jack and Ishan and other students. And she said, I wish all of the folks, the alumni that we have, working with the school, had that same level of passion to do that. And my response is, well, they probably do. They just haven't unleashed it yet. Right. And sometimes what it takes to unleash it is to have another professional prompt them to unleash it. So I would say, if you found a person that you wanted to get information or insight from, and you are not getting the response that you're looking for, let me know.
Okay.
Let me know. And then I, as a professional in the industry, might be able to prompt them, in some way, shape, or form, to get back to you on the answers to your questions.
Gotcha. And this goes beyond, just clarifying, this goes beyond Boeing, you're saying? Oh,
yeah. You got to understand.
Right.
I know people in my network. I've got a network of friends that are multi-company aerospace wise, as well as outside of the aerospace industry. I mean, lawyers, doctors, firemen, you name it. I've got a pretty large network. And I'll tell you that many of the people, in fact, most of the people that are in that network, they know me as being a credible person that would refer someone. I'm not going to send them someone who is going to, be a pain in a pita to them. I'm going to send somebody to them that they would be interested in talking to and having a discussion with and helping. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm the current chair of the Dean's Leadership Board for the College of Engineering. So all the Dean's Leadership Board members, they all know me and respect the people that I send to them as people that are credible. I'm also on a multiplicity of other boards with other aerospace companies. So the message is, yeah, I can help you.
Gotcha. Thank you for that.
Find me on LinkedIn. I can help you.
Already on it. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? Our time is almost up, I can see. Students are probably going back to classrooms, huh?
Sir, I had another question.
Oh, go ahead, Sean.
So I was wondering, I'm a fire cadet with the OCFA, and as you know, the fire department has a lot of connections with agencies like the FCC and FAA, and I was wondering if that kind of experience could help being considered for those government agencies, as well as the techniques that you showed us in your presentation.
Yeah, most definitely. What I would highly recommend is if you want to have a discussion about things that you need to have in your portfolio that will give you a leg up in making the connections to the career path that you're interested in. What I would highly recommend is that you and I have a discussion via email. Start with the LinkedIn connection, and we'll go to a email dialogue about where you want to go, what you're interested in doing, and then the things that you need to have in your portfolio and your profile that will help you get there. And then I will take that and I will start connecting you to those people that can help you get there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And I do actually have one more question. Ishan asked it earlier, but he was wondering if you'd be comfortable sharing your slideshow with us. I can distribute it amongst the participants.
Oh, yes. Yeah, go ahead. That'd be fine.
Awesome. I'll shoot you an email just after this.
No problem.
And I think there's one also in the chat from faculty. I'm not quite sure who that is, but they're asking, for ET majors, jobs with federal or state agencies, like to see the FE EIT exam. Oh, there we go. Does Boeing like to see that applicants have either an FE or a PE?
So the answer is yes. But why am I smiling when I give you this answer?
Mm-hmm.
One student sent me a resume, engineering student sent me a resume, and he had all these accreditations in his resume listed. EE, AE, AEIT, ABIT, I mean, all this acronym.
Right.
And I sent him a note back, and I said, "Hey, this is great that you have all these accreditations, these degrees, these curriculum that you've taken, et cetera, et cetera." I said, but if you think the average hiring manager understands and knows what these acronyms are, I think you might be mistaken. What you want to do is spell them out. Whatever that accreditation is, make sure that you spell it out so that a hiring manager who may not have affiliations with that particular accreditation will at least understand, oh, wow, this student has done this, and they've done this, and they got this degree, this, et cetera. So the answer is yes, all those things are important, but don't just state the acronym, because I'll tell you right now, most hiring managers have, like me, been in the business for a long time and forgotten, I actually had a student give me a resume that had listed, I took Aero 105, listed the classes that he took, right? And it was in the Cal Poly logo, right? I mean, the Cal Poly, dialect.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know what these classes are, tell me what class you took, dude. So my message is, when you write your resume or whatever, make sure that you spell the stuff out that you're trying to tell the manager.
Gotcha. Would you say necessarily limit the number of accreditations you list, preferring explanation over just listing acronyms, or list all that you've got and explain a few?
Well, it really all depends on your resume.
Gotcha.
First off, a college student resume should not be more than one page.
Right.
Second off, if you can get everything that I said on those basic categories on that one page and list your accreditations, you've done pretty good.
Awesome. All right. Something to shoot for.